Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to show you how I like to restring my traveler's notebooks. I wouldn't say there are like a right and a wrong way. If you can restring it without damaging your notebook, then that would be a good way to restring it. But I've learned a few things between restringing several notebooks and some tips that I have that I think are pretty helpful if you like to restring your notebooks somewhat regularly to change out the colors and things like that. So today I'm going to be using, this is an Ink Bandit. It is a store on Etsy, and this is the jade color in just the narrow size. I originally restringed it with this brown elastic because it came with this green elastic, which is very thin. If you compare it to the elastic I restring it with, this elastic is quite a bit thicker, and that's what I prefer. This is a 2mm elastic cord. And so I buy my elastic cord off of Amazon. Amazon.co.uk is what I use because I'm in the UK, but I'm sure they would have the similar elastics on Amazon.com or in any craft store carries things like this. Now today I'm going to be changing out because I got some new cords in. These are the colors that I ordered. I have white. This is like oatmeal, I think is the color of that, or natural or something. This is a mint color, and this is a lavender color. So that's kind of what's fun about restringing your notebooks, is that, you know, over time, the elastic does loosen, and you can change it out based on like what color you want. So that can be fun. So I think I'm either going to do purple or white. Ooh. This is a difficult one. I think I might do, I don't know, do I want to do purple? I think I'll do purple. Okay, so I think we are ready to show you the supplies that we'll be using. So obviously you'll have your traveler's notebook. You'll have your 2mm is what I prefer elastic, or whatever size elastic you prefer. You also want, I think it's helpful, is some linen thread. And I'll show you how you use that. I also have some bookbinding needles. They're just long and a little bit thicker than a traditional needle. But if you have a traditional needle and thread, that will work too. You just want to make sure that your thread is pretty strong, which the linen thread is very strong. So that's something that you're going to want. If you have an awl, that can also be helpful to undo the knots if you don't want to have to cut away at your strings in order to save them and keep them intact for if you want to change them out again. I would suggest having an awl or some kind of pointy object, maybe a tweezer, to kind of get into those knots and loosen them. And then lastly, I have some matches. Also, you could use a lighter. That would probably be what most people would have, but I have matches. And this is to burn the edges of your elastic so that they don't fray. So that, I believe, is all you are going to need. And some scissors. Some scissors as well to cut your elastic and your thread and things like that. So let's get right on into it. So first things first, you're going to want to loosen your elastics. Now, when it comes to this elastic that you use around your notebook, that's going to be easy. All you have to do is pull it out. Now, because this notebook came with very thin elastics, the holes were very small. So it was quite difficult for me to get this size elastic in through the middle. With these size holes, I actually widened them with my crocodile to get the 2mm elastics in easier. But if you have most traveler's notebooks use this size elastic, so you probably won't have a problem. But my tips will also show you, if you have small holes, how you can get your elastic through. So you can just pull out, whether your elastic is here on a traditional Midori or in the spine, you can just pull it right out. And I just keep them like this so that they're ready to be popped back in whenever. And then I'm going to go ahead and use my awl and get into this knot. So I'm going to go in and just kind of poke it through and grab onto that elastic and pull to loosen the knot. Now over time my elastics tend to get tight, and as you can see, it was super easy even then with my awl to get in there and loosen it up. And then you can just pull it out. So nothing too spectacular about that. You can just pull and it will come out. All right, beautiful. So now I have this length of elastic, and what can be helpful is to use that elastic to measure out your new size of the length of elastic that you will need to restring your notebook. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to trim off the very end because you can see how frayed that has gotten. So I'm just going to trim off the very end of that. And then I will just use my old elastic along my new elastic and figure out how long I need it. And then I'll go ahead and I probably will do like an inch more just to have some leeway. Put that to the side. And then before I string it through, I find it helpful to burn the ends at this point. So I'm going to go ahead and I like to hold both of my, this will be easier if you have a lighter and not a match. And then I will just burn the edges lightly like that so that they don't fray while we string the notebook. So then I'm going to get out a little bit of the linen thread. What is this, like 8 inches? You don't need that much. Polyester thread, heavy duty thread will also work. Like I said, just a strong thread. And here's my bookbinding needle. You could also use, if you have like knitting needles, that would work too, as long as your holes are big enough to accommodate that. So I'm just going to string my needle. And so this is kind of going to work as a guide for the elastic to get it through. So I'm just going to tie. I find that when I'm doing this, I pull the thread through so that it's equal on the one end, and then I just do a knot like that. And then that is strong enough to be able to pull the elastics through. Sometimes, now to show you, depending on the size of your holes in your traveler's notebook, this will fit right through. For instance, right there, it just fits through. And then I like to leave it just so it is a little bit longer so I can tie a knot in the middle and have excess. So I go up through the middle hole and then around and down through that hole to the left of it. And then I'll go into the hole directly below it. Let me move this up for you. And pull it somewhat taut, not super taut, but somewhat taut. And you can always tighten it up later. And then I go back up. So we went through, down, and now I'm going to go back up. And now this is the time where you might need your needle. I'll just show you how I use it. I pull this elastic to the one side. I put my needle through the hole. I take my elastic and pull it through that thread so the thread catches on through the elastic. And then I'll just pull it through so it kind of guides the elastic through the hole and pull so that it's a little bit easier to thread it through when you have the double elastic. So then I just keep checking the tautness or how tight it is. I don't know what words I'm trying to use to make sure that it's all good. Because you want it a little bit taut but not too taut. And then back through, down to the last area. And then again, I'm going to use my needle, pull the elastic to the side to make sure your needle's not going to catch. And then use the string to pull through your final elastic. And I find that if I open the two pieces of thread, put my fingers between it and pull, I get a little bit more leverage. And then I just pull it through. So then we have our two pieces in the same middle part of your traveler's notebook, and then I'll just do a double knot right over left, left over right, and tie a knot like that. Then you can see that you can kind of figure out how tight everything should be by just kind of adjusting, pulling, and everything like that. So there it is. Now the most difficult part on this particular notebook is this middle band. So I'm going to go ahead, get my elastic out again. And I know this is kind of becoming a jumbled mess, but I would say start out with about, like you can go from the side because you're going to tie a knot in it. So I'd say about that much. That's how much I would use. Let's see how much that is. Maybe a foot. Yeah, so it looks like that's probably about 14 inches. That's probably more than we need, but I'm going to start out with about 14 inches. Then again, going to go ahead and burn the ends of that elastic so it doesn't fray. And then I'm going to tie a knot at the end, just a simple knot, and pull. Now at this point, don't pull it too tight because it might not be the right length, I guess you can say. And actually, I'm going to undo it right now because what you want to do, and then you'll see why I do this last and not before the other one, is I'm going to put one end through the loop and then go back and tie a knot. Simple knot. So that we have the loop on the needle. I'm going to go through that hole that I have in my traveler's notebook on the spine, and I am going to pull it through. Now, my hole is small, as I said before, so this takes a little bit of effort, and I poke myself, but I'm going to go ahead and pull it through. Now, for most people, this isn't going to be as difficult as it is for me because of the size of this hole. But I just chop it off and then I'll discard this piece of string. So now I have this knot back here and I'll double check and see if it is the right size. And I think that's pretty good. So I'm going to go ahead and tighten it so that it kind of makes that knot smaller and less obtrusive. And then you can go ahead and you know, trim these if they're a little bit too long for you. But I believe this is the front. So then there you go. There is your traveler's notebook, and it is all restrung and ready to fill. And now it has a nice colorful band, and it gives a little bit of contrast against that jade traveler's notebook. So there you are, a quick and simple way to change out your elastics on your traveler's notebook. I hope you found that helpful. If you have any questions, please leave them below. I'd be happy to answer them for you. And I look forward to seeing you next time. If you liked the video, go ahead and click the like button below and subscribe for more videos from me. Thanks. Bye.